Hey guys, welcome to this session. Our topic is periodic classification. In the past video, we are discussing about the various changing properties of the elements across the periods and groups within the periodic table. So today we'll further more discuss on these various changes in the properties of these elements across the periods and the groups. So this is our table, the elements from the first element to the 20th element. So we use this to describe various changes in the properties of all these elements across the periods and the groups. So let's start with the first one. These are just more of the various changes which we've discussed before. So these are more of the various changes in the properties of the elements. So our first one is ionization energy or just ionization and potential, simply IE or IP. Now, what does this mean? This refers to the minimum amount of energy required to remove the loosely bound electron from an isolated atom or ion in its gaseous state. So it's simply just a small amount of energy that is required to remove the most loosely bound element that is from the isolated atom or just an ion in its simply gaseous state. Now, simply the smaller the value of ionization energy, that is the uh, minimum amount of energy to remove the loose electron, the easier it is to remove the electron from the atom. Take an example, this magnesium, when we are considering its ionization energy value, just becomes 1. Now, let's see how this works. Now, down the group, simply it decreases gradually down the group. Now, why does this happen? This is because the electrons are held in their shells by the attraction to the positive nucleus. And so as you go down the group, the size of the atom increases. Simply, it's increasing atomic radius. So this means that if there is an increasing atomic radius, uh, so that's why the ionization energy it decreases simply as you go down the group, the atomic radius of an electron increases. Now, if the radius it gets larger, it means there's that energy it gets loose for the electrons that are located far away from the nucleus. So that's how it is. It decreases down the group. Now, so the outermost electron of an atom that gets further and further away from the attraction or pull of the positive nucleus, hence requiring just a little amount of energy to remove from the atom. Now, along the period, it increases along the period from left to right with the increase in the atomic number. So there you have it. That's simply all about the ionization energy or the ionization potential. The other one is electron affinity, simply EA. This is just opposite to ionization energy, i.e., it is simply defined as the amount of energy released when an extra electron is added to an isolated neutral atom in its gaseous state. So yes, the reverse of ionization energy. So it's just the amount of energy that is released just when an extra electron is added or is put into an isolated neutral atom in its gaseous state. Now, how does this work? Down the group, simply the value of electron affinity decreases down the group, just the same as the ionization energy. And along the period, the values increase along the period from left to right. You can work with these properties very well while you are observing your periodic table. So you get to know what do I mean when you down the group and along the period, maybe decreases from down, it decreases from top to bottom. What does it mean? By observing your periodic table, or it increases from left to right. What does it mean? It means the elements from left to right, considering your periodic table. Now, the other changing properties of the elements is the density and the melting point. Now, simply density uh, is just the ratio of mass to the volume. So the density of a substance is just the ratio of its mass to its volume, while the melting point simply this is the temperature at which the solid substance turns into liquid at the standard atmospheric pressure. Now let's start with the density. How does it work to these elements across the periods and the groups? Now down the group, the densities of elements increases down the group. So if you move from top to bottom, the densities of all of the elements, it increases down the group, while along the period, just across the period, the densities decrease along the period from left to right. So when you move from left to right, from your periodic table, the densities of the elements will decrease. So there you have it. When we talk about melting point, this simply, as we said, that you just see the amount of temperature that is required for the solid state just to turn to liquid state. Now, the melting point, how does it work to the periodic table? Down the group, the melting points of elements decreases down the group as the elements become less metallic in nature. While across the periods, the melting points of the elements decreases across the periods from left to right. So I hope it's clear, guys. Thank you for listening. We've discussed all of the various changes in properties of the elements across the periods and the groups in the periodic table. I hope it's clear. To understand more about the other changes in properties of the elements, you can see my various previous videos. So thank you and see you in the next videos.